Hello, my name is Ivan, and welcome to the next part of the pixel art workshop that focuses on character creation and also how to actually get started when you look at a blank canvas. So for this tutorial, I will decided to do it a bit differently. We've already talked about how to create assets, how you can animate them, what to do with colors, shading, lighting, and so on. So for this one, I want to go a bit in a different direction and kind of give you an overview how to get started. Because when you're just looking at a blank canvas and you have so many ideas but you don't know where to start, it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. So with this tutorial we'll go through the process of starting building and making a character and getting some ideas of how to make a compelling one. First and foremost, as we said in a lot of the other videos, is choose how big your asset is going to be. For a character, that's extremely important. And one of the most important things is to understand what kind of game, of course, you're making. And how close the camera is going to be from your character. It's really important, for example, in a jump and run, to have a smaller character with not that many features because these kind of characters are going to be doing a lot of physical activities, are going to be jumping, falling, running, interacting with the environment. So all of these things you would need to animate, and all of these things are going to slow down your workflow. But with something like, let's say, a quest game or adventure game where the character is just maybe moving and just interacting with the environment, then you can go and do some crazier stuff with it. We're going to talk about choosing a style in the next video, but for this one, just try to figure out how big the character you're going to make is. For example, a 64 by 64 is normally a starter character for a lot of side-scrolling games. The next thing is choosing a color that you would want to express the thing that you're drawing. So let's say that you want to draw a tree. Then the best thing is to start with something brownish and then go from that, create something brighter for the brighter parts, create something darker for the shadows, select a green maybe for the leaves later on, but start with something simple like brown. If you're drawing a knight, then normally something like gray or bluish would be the best bet to kind of get the whole process flowing. If you want to draw something like a background, like a cloud, then again, white or blue would be your best bet. If you want to draw something crazy, like a poisonous dragon from whatever Valley of Sorrow, then well, that's up to you how you want to start with that. Or if everything else fails, what I normally do is choose black or gray because they're very easy to contrast, they're very easy to start building on top of. And then if we kind of go back again to the character creation. What I normally do and what I'm going to show you later is that I just start doodling. The initial one is just making a very rough outline. As you can see here, I was trying to make a character. You kind of get an outline. Okay, the character is going to be standing facing to the right. He or she is going to have some hands, some head, some feet, and so on. At this point, don't worry about if everything kind of looks good, if everything is just too chunky, if you made some errors, that's okay. At this point, we just want to have something visual, something that has filled in all the space that we wanted to fill in, and that we kind of have an example idea. At this point, we can also kind of draw some just lines. Like if you go into the character from scratch, you can see that you can either start from the one that we've shown here, or you can go even simpler by just doing a stickman, because then you can actually figure out what are the size and proportions of the thing. Where are they going to be the arms, where it's going to be the hips, the head, and so on. This is very normal in art. A lot of times, no matter what you're drawing, a head, a torso, a whole body, you want to do these kind of outlining, so it's much easier later on to go from there. So for the artists and designers, I'm not saying anything new. Once you have done this initial sketch, the next step is to kind of outline a bit more. So let's say that the character would have a shirt. So we would want to have a high color with some, the sleeves are going to be here or whatever. There's going to be some darker parts. In this point, I also like to select some of the highlights and the shadow colors for that. In my case, I wanted to go for a night, so I chose this kind of blue, darkish, and more brightish colors, and use those colors to outline. We still are not cleaning up stuff, that's okay. Next comes the more involved part. We want I don't want to sound like that meme with how to draw an owl. You make a circle, then you draw the owl. No, but I want to be able to tell you that going from this point to this point is not that hard. You just have to start now removing some pixels and adding them when it's needed. So let's say that we look at it here, we can see that this arm is maybe a bit too big, this one is a bit too small, the head is maybe a bit too big to the torso, the hips are a bit too big, the feet are not matching. So we start kind of removing some parts, adding some parts, until we start to get a feeling of it. At this point, we still don't want to care about small details. We don't care about if the character is wearing an armor, if he's wearing boots or sandals, if he has an expression. We don't care about this one. We just want to have a silhouette and kind of understand where the bigger parts are gonna start and end. After that, it's the same thing that we've talked about in all of these videos. You choose the interesting details. If you want to make a knight, you start by making a helmet, make a suit of armor, and boots, and so on. Choose the colors. At this point, you're still in the early process of designing. So if you want to make, I don't know, a black knight or a pink knight, it's much easier to go back and change this. Choose the light direction. That's another thing that at this point you want to do, because we want to know which parts are going to be throwing shadow, which part are going to be brightly lit, and so on, because later on we are going to use that for the smaller details. We're also going to use it for the animation, and it just helps us keep the whole game consistent. Of course, after that is just a loop of starting shading, cleaning up, adding small details until we're happy with the results that we get. So next we're gonna do some doodling from scratch. If you want to follow along, I would suggest to open the characters from scratch, and the number 1, I will be going from that one. But if you're interested in something else, I've also added female and male bodies here that you can tweak to your liking. You can add hair, you can change their colors, you can try to make them in different poses. Or if you want some inspiration for some character designs, you can go back for inspiration and look at some of the characters designs that we have here. These characters can be used for, let's say, fighters, jump and run, side scrollers, adventure games, and so on. Or if you want to do maybe not a main character, but something like an enemy, we've also added some skeleton warriors with different weapons, different poses that you can use freely and tweak as much as you like.